Welcome to the DIY Goalie Podcast, where hosts and goalie coaches Nathan Park and Connor Monday share their insights on how to become a better goalie.
Goalies, how's it going? I'm back in the driver's seat again. Welcome back to the DIY Goalie Podcast presented by True North Goaltending. How's it going? Nice to see you. Hopefully everybody is enjoying their off season up to this point, whether that be training, enjoying some time on the lake, going golfing, or whatever that may be. For myself, it's been a little quiet. Having more animal problems, which is always fun. But beyond that, it's a fun time. I am joined today by one of True North's instructors and a good buddy of mine, Ethan Maertens-Poole. Ethan, how you doing today, buddy?
Doing really well. I actually got a little nervous there. I was like, is he going to say my last name right? Because most butcher it, but you did a good job there. So It's awesome. Thanks for having me.
Hey, well, glad to have you here. Ethan is one of our lead instructors with True North Goaltending. Very knowledgeable guy. He's been all over the place when it comes to the hockey world. So we'll talk about that today. Ethan, just tell us a little bit about yourself. What got you into hockey? What got you into goaltending? And just we'll kind of go at it from there.
Hockey. Hockey's an interesting one because my parents never played growing up, but my dad was an avid Oilers fan. So when I was younger, me and him would go watch a lot of hockey games. And I think my love of the game came from spending lots of time with him. So got into hockey that way and just kept playing. And then when I was 8, 9, I got the opportunity to go live overseas for 14 months in Bangladesh. And when we came back, that old folk tale, if you don't know how to skate, go in net, I guess was the way my parents went with it. So they threw me into a bunch of goalie schools and goalie clinics when we got back because I hadn't been on the ice in about a year and a half, and took off from there. Quickly realized you actually have to skate better to be a goalie. So it was a struggle at the start, but yeah, I loved being a goalie. I loved playing hockey.
So then tell me, what kind of levels of hockey did you play growing up?
For me, I played Mill Woods, I played Sierra, and then I actually never played rep hockey, to be honest with you. Like, funny enough.
Oh.
So my last year of I guess U18 midget, but my last year midget I played Tier 1, and then I played 2 years of Junior B before that 1 year at Junior B. I was in Beaumont. The coach knew the coach in Olds, and they had a goalie that went down, so I got the opportunity to go play in Olds for about 2 months. And then for the rest of that season, I was off and on with Olds. I had a vehicle. I was 20, so just back and forth, bouncing back between Olds and in the Alberta Junior Hockey League, and then with Beaumont. So that was a fun time. So for me, it was interesting getting that perspective of never playing rep hockey and then getting to play with some pretty cool players in Olds. It was really fun.
That's interesting because I didn't know that. Because so you and I maybe have cross paths because I don't think because you and I are about the same age, give or take.
Yeah, I'm a 95. Yeah,
I'm not okay. So I'm 98. So that's interesting because I didn't play rep hockey either. None of that AA, AAA stuff, and I transferred from Millwoods to Sierra come Bantam.
Yeah.
Due to internal hockey politics and all that. But no, that's interesting. I didn't know that. So then what led you to kind of pursue something after playing hockey? More specifically, in our kind of social circle, we know you do a lot of things with as a head coach and an assistant coach. You were most recently, I think it was the assistant coach with MLAC U15, was it?
Yeah. Last year I helped out with that U15 team. Yeah.
Okay. So then what? Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So I guess my 20-year-old year was actually kind of interesting. So when I was in Olds for that part of the year, the other goalie there was actually 17. So you see the writing on the wall when you're backing up a 17-year-old, and you sit there and you go, okay, yeah, he's gonna play at a higher level than I ever will. But I think I just started to transition to watching the game and appreciating it from a different perspective, because that's all I really ever saw in games. I got to practice and I saw what competing in practice was like, but I guess I feel like I have a decently analytical mind, so that really kept me going in games when I wasn't playing is watching the play and breaking down why our coaches were doing the things we were. We weren't the most skilled team, but we had some pretty good players, and our best player was top 5 in the league in scoring, and he was doing some things right. And watching our coach Dana Lattery there and the buttons he was pushing, I think I really started to draw myself towards that a little bit more as the year ended. So when that season ended, I kind of had the itch to figure out how to stay in hockey. I knew I was just going to go to school, but a buddy of mine, Alex, we both decided we wanted to get into coaching. So we sent out our resumes together to every rep club. So like CAC, MLAC, Southside, and KC. And so we were in 21. And the only club that got back to us was CAC. So we applied there and got to help, got to coach a U16 AA, I guess REM 15 AA, I guess is what it was called at the time.
Okay.
And loved it. I loved every moment of it, being with the kids. I like the tactical side of the game. I like the personal growth you see in all the players when they come to you for questions and you guys can collaboratively work together. And I think that just spawned my interest to keep going with it. And that's how it started, to be honest with you. And then my passion just continued to grow as I learned more and I surrounded myself with people who were smarter than me that kept pushing me to be better. And I kept seeing results as I kept pushing myself. And it was a fun time for me.
Okay. So kind of a multi-part question for you here, not in our list of questions that we gave you, but one that kind of was dealing with when I first started coaching.
Yeah.
When you had applied to any of these teams, was it specifically to be as a goalie coach, or was it to be as an assistant associate coach? And then I have a follow-up question for that.
Yeah. So I applied to be an assistant coach because I think I was a goalie. I started goalie coaching from the time I was like 14 with Goal in the Net. And as much as I loved it, I didn't think that was my path. So I wanted to try something else. Also, I didn't want to pigeonhole myself into being a goalie coach, as well as I knew a lot of those clubs worked with like ATC or Goal in the Net or Ian Gordon or Eli Wilson. So like at that time, I was like, they have their club guys. So if I want to get onto a staff, it would most likely be as an assistant coach.
Okay. So then my follow-up to that would be then, because you and I kind of share this connection with not playing high-ish level hockey. Was there a little bit of, I don't know what the word that I'm looking for is, but like a little bit of fear that, like, am I really qualified to be coaching at this level, even though that I've never played at this level? I mean, like we see a lot of coaches like that nowadays, but you and I both have kind of grown up in a time where like there was a lot of like internal social circles. It's like the AAA kids stayed all together, AA kids all stayed all together, and I saw that throughout high school in particular. So when you go out and you reach out to these teams saying, "Hey, I want to be part of your staff," was there a sense of like nervousness? Did you feel that your hockey background may not have lived up to the whatever the expectations is that these teams put out, for lack of a better term?
Yeah, I would say there was a little bit of that. The big thing for me that I wouldn't say I can hang my hat on because it was a cup of coffee, but being in Olds and being surrounded in the billet environment and playing with some players that were going to go play Division 1 and had gotten scholarships, and I stopped negative 20 shots every time, but being in that environment and seeing the work ethic that they put into it, I felt comfortable on that preparation side. And then when I got hired on with CAC, I reached out to a buddy of mine, or I guess a mentor of mine, Blair Becker with Core Hockey. And honestly, like he didn't pay me that first summer, and I volunteered for every camp that he had to be a coach just so I could hop on the ice with him. And at that time, he was the assistant coach in Camrose with the Kodiaks. So he had junior players and AAA players galore out there with him. So I would say the feeling that you're talking about, I had that all summer on the ice with those kids. But by the end of the summer, just because I was willing to listen and learn and grow, and I think that's something that young coaches sometimes jump in thinking they know everything. But for me, I decided to take a step back and watch Blair and just see how he did it. I felt super comfortable going into that season because I felt like I put the work in the summer to be okay with it.
Imposter syndrome was the word that I was looking for.
There you go. Yeah.
That's all right. Okay, so I guess like this is more so local news over anything, but you were hired as the head coach for one of the MLAC teams um, for the upcoming season.
Yeah,
Can't remember
yeah.
which level, so forgive me on that. So my question for you then is that as a head coach and as a scout, because you're also a scout for, I believe it's the what is Wolverines?
Camrose with
Whiteport?
Kodiaks.
Camrose. All right,
Yeah.
Camrose Kodiaks. Same thing. Uh what are some things that you look for when you're scouting a goalie to bring on to the Kodiaks, or when you're scouting or when you're evaluating a goalie throughout tryouts to bring onto your team? Just kind of like, is there anything that, like, are you looking at it from a goaltender's perspective, or are you looking at it from the eyes of a head coach?
That's a good question. So like I would say on the goaltending side of it, it's probably the head coach perspective because I think you can see into the eyes a little bit more of a head coach because I am a head coach. And the first thing I look for is it's kind of a feeling, but do I feel confident when I look at them in the net? Like, do
Okay.
they command the net? Like, are their movements sharp? Are they controlling the play? Are they going out to pucks and moving them with confidence? Or are they super timid in the net? Right. And I think if they're timid in the net, regardless of if their movements are good, I just think that when the pressure comes and the bigger bodies come in front of the net, they're gonna kind of retreat back into their net. And whereas the more aggressive, confident goalies are gonna try and fight through that. And to be honest with you, you can, if you want to use an NHL example, look at Connor Hellebuck in the regular season versus Connor Hellebuck now. Like he just hopes for the best right now when there's traffic and looks the most unconfident you've ever seen a goalie. Yet in the regular season, he's going to win the Vezina. And to me, that's the biggest thing I look for when I first see a goalie is are they confident, right? And if they look confident, then you probably now give them a tick and go the other direction. Okay, what's their rebound control look like? Are they sucking pucks up? Are they square to every shot? What's their post play? But if I don't think they're confident, I kind of move on. To be honest, like that's the biggest thing. And so if you can portray that, even if you aren't confident and you aren't super great, I think there's a to me, I would continue to watch.
So then what about from a scout's perspective then? Because like obviously that's different because you have to bring those findings to the head coach.
Yeah, so from a
Like,
scout's perspective, with a goalie, the first thing you look for is their movement. Like, are they crisp? Are they getting to pucks before the puck gets there? Are they reading the play and then getting themselves square? Or are they always getting to the puck last minute so they're flailing around? And I think because you're looking at them at a level where if they were to go play in Camrose, the pace will be even faster. If they can't keep up to the pace where they're at, they're not going to be able to keep up to the pace at the Alberta Junior Hockey League level.
so I guess just for for dummies, basically, is it fair to say from a scout's perspective, you're looking at it as a goaltending perspective,
From
kind of,
a
sort of, not
scout's
really?
from a
Yeah.
goaltending perspective, I would say that I'm looking from a scout's perspective. I'm looking at it from a goaltending perspective of, hey, are their
Okay.
movements crisp? Are they calm in the net? Like those different things. And confident, unconfident goalies can be the same way. But
Okay.
so I would say from a scout's perspective, when I look at it, I look from a
You're
goaltending perspective and I go,
Yeah. Okay.
what was I not? And let's go from there.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So being the analytical guy that you are, you're a big believer in finding goalies, or of goalies finding the right fit and or situation for them. Why is that, and how can that affect their performance?
Because I've seen it firsthand coaching goalies that thrive in certain situations and then don't thrive in others. And I think the big thing on that is just the way they've played in the past and then the situation that they're putting themselves in. If you've always been I'm not throwing MLAC under the bus, but if you've always been a part of MLAC and you're facing 50, 60 shots a night, you're programmed to face lots of shots. So if you go to a program where you're facing 25 shots a night, that's a massive adjustment to keep yourself focused for lots of the game when you're not facing shots and you're so used to always being on high alert, knowing that the puck's coming your direction. It's really hard to train yourself to be focused when your team's carrying the play most of the time. And in those situations, you're not expected to make 50 save, but you're expected to make that big save. And if you aren't used to doing that, it's going to be very hard for you to do that in that moment. So I think a lot of players that I talk to, not only goalies but players, but goalies especially, they get so wrapped up on wanting to wear the jersey of a certain team that they don't look at the way they play or the way the coach plays and go, hey, is this a good fit for me? Instead of I just want to wear the jersey. And I coached a kid who flamed out in Spruce Grove, and that's a very good program. And he went to a program in another junior A program where they gave up lots of shots, and he flourished, and he was awesome out there. And he looked like the goalie that played before. He just struggled in Spruce Grove facing 20 shots a night.
We see similar stuff with that, particularly more in the like the outlaw league sort of things. Like in here in Alberta, it's the HSL and the PHL, right? Like
Yeah.
I had a goalie parent reach out to me. What was this? Probably about a couple months ago now, asking me about what would be the best fit for their child. And because like every program in hockey in general will say you should come to us because we're this and that, right? Every they all use the same slogan, like development time and consistent ice time and this and that, which is great on some levels, not so great on others. So the advice that I gave her is you're going to want to find something that's going to be the best fit for your athlete. First off, where does your athlete want to go? But then also what would be the best fit for the family, for lack of a better term, right? Like what's really, you obviously don't want to be going into a program that's going to be causing a lot of outward or internal drama. You also don't want to be going to a program where you have a team that's going to promise you, oh yeah, you're going to play insert X amount of games here, right? And then turns out to be the opposite, right? You want to make sure that you have that open communication. So I mean, just that's what we see a lot of it nowadays, and particularly with the amount of uh, organizations or programs that are out not only just in Alberta but just in the entirety of Canada in general. We're starting to see a lot more of a lot of people second guessing kind of what they want to do or where they're going.
Yeah, and I think you've the family piece is what's made like that CSSHL
Right.
a prominent option is we don't have time to take our kid to practice at 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. So if I can take my kid to a school where I pick them up at 3:30 and they've had practice, they've done their schoolwork and they've done their workout and they can just come home, that's what's made that such a prominent thing for a lot of people. Obviously, the cost is a big barrier for them. And that's another thing when you talk about the right fit is are you willing to shell out $30,000 for 1 year of hockey if you don't have that? And I think that's something where when you look at the other options, I would start looking at who's the goalie coach. Like who is the goalie coach? Is it someone you've worked with before? Is it someone that comes on the ice frequently? Is it someone that's willing to be collaborative? Like I think there's too many coaches that they have a cookie cutter way of wanting to do it, and if you don't fit that cookie cutter way, it's unfortunate. You're not gonna become the goalie that you want to be with them. It's finding a coach that wants to be collaborative with you and work with you because ultimately you're the one that has to play. And if you don't feel comfortable in the net, you're not going to make a lot of saves.
Right.
And I think that's the one thing where now these parents having so many options, you got to ask those questions. You can't just look at the record of the team before or who was there before you because that's not who you are, and you have to ask those questions of what are you going to do to help my development and why are you a good fit for me? And I think parents got to start asking that a little bit more.
So then what can goalies and parents do to sorry, what can goalies and parents do when looking for teams to help them find a better fit?
I think that like every kid that I've talked to that is speaking to a team or a coach, I tell them to ask the question of what are you going to do to help my development? Like how are you going to help me other than telling me that I'm going to play 50% of the games? What's the other days look like? Like what's the rest of that look like? I think don't get sucked into what other families are doing. I think each family and each kid is different. Like we talked about, everyone has a different fit. Uh, don't go, well, my buddy's going there, I got to go there too. Because you got to take ownership of your own development at some point. And so to me is I would try lots of things. I would go to different places. I would reach out to different teams. And I'm saying that speaking from a head coach of a club team. I want you to see what a CSSHL team looks like or what a JPHL team looks like. I want you to explore your options so that when you know that when you come back to us, you know it's the right fit. And to me, that's what would be what I would ask of parents is start asking those hard questions. And depending on the age of the kid, have the kid ask that question because he's the one that's going to go on the ice.
It's kind of similar to like getting a quote on. I know we're supposed to be getting our windows done here, right? Like you have company A, B, and C, right? So you get company A is going to offer, or even like buying a car, right? You have company A that's going to offer you this much for your trade in. You have company B that's going to offer you maybe a little bit less, but they're also promising free internal cleaning for a year or whatever. And then company C is, we'll just take the car at face value and not give you anything else, basically, right? So it's similar in that aspect, right? Like again, like Ethan was just saying, like I did hear of a story, I can't remember where it was or where I heard it from, but it was a similar idea. It's like go off, like you want to come play with us, okay, fine, but you go off and see what other options that you have out there and see if there's anything that's going to be a better fit for you. If not, then come back to us and we'll talk. Right? It can't just be because Team A won the division last year. They've had a successful program for the last X amount ish years or whatever. Okay, yeah, that's a program that you want to go to. Okay, but is that going to be viable for you in the long run of your career? The amount of times, I mean, even then, like in junior hockey, as an example, um, I saw a lot of, and again, this is one of those outlaw league team player things, so take this with a grain of salt. Um, there was a lot of player switching. There was a lot of player movement happening around, and that was just more so just because of just trying to find. Some of them wanted to play with their buddies. Some of them wanted to find a better team or better fit for their development for how they play. So there is kind of that give and take and pick and choose your battles, I guess, is kind of the moral of the story there.
Yeah, I 100%. And I think the other side of it too, though, is don't don't run from it because it's going to be hard work. Like I think that's the other thing that families and kids do now is they pick the easiest option, the guaranteed option, instead of going, okay, I have to earn this. I think earning something's not a bad thing. It means you wanted it and you went out and got it. And if you want to talk about scouting, I'd rather a kid have to go earn everything than just be handed everything because eventually you got to earn it. And if you've never done that before, it's always been handed to you. You're not going to be able to have the tools to navigate through those hard times. And that's where you see kids flame out at junior is when they've had that path just handed to them until they get there. And all of a sudden now they're the third string goalie on a junior team after being the starter on whatever team they were at U18 and they're only dressing every third game. They're only playing 4 games that season and they just quit because it's too hard and they don't want to fight through it. Even though they know they might be the guy the next year, that's too far away. Is if you think the program's the right fit for you and if you see eye to eye with what the coach is doing, you agree in the development, stick it out, try it. Try and earn it because I think that's going to help you out in the long run. And you look at like obviously the Western Hockey League draft was today, and the same amount of players on a 5-win U15 AAA team got drafted as the 24-win U15 AAA team. So you don't have like you just have to find the right fit for you, and then go out there and make the team.
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, so I guess just kind of jumping into this next one here, just because it kind of goes hand in hand. What tips do you have as a coach and as a scout for goalies to make a good impression?
Uh it's interesting. So this is Hockey Alberta through and through, and I've taken this, but carry your own bag into the rink. Like don't like take that. It starts right there for me. To be honest with you, if you are walking in by yourself and your parent, obviously this is age appropriate. If you're 6 years old, that's a little different. But if
Right.
you're age appropriate and you're walking in with a water bottle and your parents are carrying your gear, to me it just shows like maybe you're just there to have some fun, right? And that's okay. But if you're trying to make a team, like, hey, show up, maybe don't wear a hat, maybe wear the right clothes and carry your bag in. Like, to me, that's a really good first impression. On the ice, be on time, right? Ask lots of questions. And for a goalie, do a warm up. Like, I'm not a like I don't hate's the wrong word, but it's I find it very odd when goalies just throw themselves into a net and then just start getting lit up. Like warm yourself up. If I'm watching a skate and there's 16 goalies on the ice and you hop out on the ice, you find your spot and you actually have a warm up to get yourself ready to play. To me, that shows that you've taken ownership in your development. So those would be my three things. Would be come with a plan, which is kind of what that warm up is. Walk in like you're trying to make a good first impression with the clothes, like wear a nice collared shirt and pants, and you're not wearing socks and sandals and a backwards hat, and ask lots of questions.
Cut your hair too, is what I'll say. I'm old fashioned like that.
or, or
So
style your long hair. Don't just let it just hang there.
yeah. Oh, the amount of times I've seen that.
Yeah,
So I guess then just kind of moving on from that as well is that we had Joaquin Gage on the show close to
yeah,
about a year ago now. And so when we were talking about kind of his journey into pro hockey and stuff, we were kind of talking about cold calling a little bit.
yeah.
So I mean, obviously it's different nowadays compared to when Gager played. So for you, what would be the right way for goalies and or families to reach out to scouts, coaches, GMs if they are cold calling about spots?
So I guess I'll ask your question. The question, like, how old are we talking here?
So okay, so let's say I guess moving right into whatever the age level is now to move into the oh god, for lack of a better term, skill development stream. That's not the word I'm looking for, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, so like 15, 16. You're talking like that, like
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, so like if we're at the point now where okay, Bantam drafts may be happening, or
yeah.
in about that age range where kids at 15 can start playing into juniors. Kind of what would be your uh, kind of roadmap
Approach.
for doing that approach? Yeah.
Yeah, so it's funny because we actually at our U15 ID skate, we had a kid that we for MLAC there, we had a kid that couldn't come for a couple of the days but wanted to come for the exit meeting, and the dad had I talked to the dad, and then I sitting there and I get an email from the kid coming from the dad's account, but it's from the kid saying, "Hey coach, I couldn't make it today. I have baseball. I made my baseball team. I love multi-sport athletes, but that's besides the point. But
Right.
I would love to come for the exit meetings on Sunday. What time do you want me there?" This is a 13-year-old kid. So what I'm trying to get at is if you're a parent cold calling a junior coach, I think that the boat's already kind of sailed. Because I don't think a lot the coach is never working with the parent. The coach is working with the kid. So I would start it off with saying it should be coming from the kid. Hey, if you want to help him write or her write the letter, that's awesome. But it should never come from a parent because at some point the kid's got to advocate for themselves. But the way I would do it is I would reach out and I would introduce myself and I would ask to have a phone call. And I think to me that sets you apart right away. If you're just sending out blanket asks to go to camp, you'll probably get the invite because camps, for lack of a better term, are cold calls or cash grabs, right? But if you want to make an impression, I would ask to have a phone conversation because I think to me that
Okay.
shows a level of maturity that you need to have to be an effective player. So I would email the usually the GM or the assistant GM is on the listed on the website, and I would shoot them an email and introduce yourself, say who you are, where you played, what makes you someone that would be a good fit for their culture. And I would say, hey, can we have a conversation? I'd love to ask you a few more questions and see if this would be a good fit for myself and for you guys.
We'll jump back into that in a moment. We are doing this in the middle of the Edmonton Oilers game, game 2 against the Vegas Golden Knights. Jake Wallman just scored to tie
There
the
we
game.
go. Look at that.
So there we go. newly acquired defenseman for the Oilers, Jake Wallman, putting his name in the books here for as part of Oilers playoff history. So you can appreciate that.
Plus
Yeah, just
minus
going.
wizard. That guy, I think he's leading. I think he's leading the playoffs with plus minus. So like, talk about an impactful player.
He's a very good defenseman. Well,
Yeah.
the Oilers did well there, but their decor is still a little shady at times. So I like that approach, and I guess just kind of to back on a story about that, just not necessarily pertaining to that um kind of thing, but very long time ago, and I've told this on a couple of other podcasts, where it was in my kind of final year of playing, it gone to a point where I was put on a team or put in a tier that I had no business being in whatsoever. And obviously internal hockey politics, this and that, but it had gotten to a point where I was tired of the person who my family was dealing with just kind of giving the runaround. So I had decided to take it upon myself to try to call this guy and be like, hey, what the hell is going on, basically. Because like, obviously, I mean, you and I have both dealt with it. We get overzealous parents, and we play the sales person, the customer service friendly face and all that, and you try to appease the masses. But I had at that point in time, I had felt that, okay, maybe if it's coming from me, maybe it might be the same answer, might be a different answer, but at least it can show, and then I can tell the story later, that I wasn't happy with where I was playing. I wanted to be moved up to a more appropriately leveled tier, and then just kind of see what happens from there. The point of the story being is, like Ethan had said, is that if you're able to, I guess for lack of a better term, do things for yourself and be able to kind of handle your own business in an aspect, that goes a long way with coaches.
Oh, 100%. And even if he didn't give you the answer you wanted, at least he remembers you now. And I think
Yeah.
that's a good thing, is you want to be remembered, especially when you're trying to move your way up through hockey. There's so many people, and it just eventually pyramids. And if you're not memorable, you're going to be replaced. So it at least puts you in the back of their mind. And if it doesn't work out for you in that moment, next year or the year after, if you reach back out, they're going to go, oh, I remember that guy. I remember he had reached out to me, and maybe his skill level wasn't quite there yet, but I love the moxie he had to at least push. Like funny story. We had a kid at Camrose Spring Camp who asked to come via LinkedIn. He had
Oh,
made his
really?
own LinkedIn account and private messaged our head scout. And our head scout said, sure, come on out, show me what you got. I loved
Wow.
it. Yeah, kid from the States. He was coming up to see his parents or his grandparents or something. He said, hey, I'm coming up to see my grandparents. I'm bringing my hockey gear with me. I'd love to come to your guys' spring camp. I saw that you guys are there the weekend that I'm there. And he got an invite.
Wow.
Yeah, he got an invite. So, but wasn't
that
his parents that did it. It was him. And I think
that's
I think Brock respected that.
that's interesting. That's awesome. I like that,
Yeah.
because LinkedIn's great. I don't use it a whole lot. I have it, but it's great. But for him to make his own LinkedIn account and reach out that way, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Um okay. So before I move into this next question here, because you brought up LinkedIn, kind of has something setting off in motion for me, so I want to ask about it. Social media,
Yeah.
obviously, in today's day and age, a massive, 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 massive thing, and there are plenty of programs or websites like LinkedIn. Facebook is another huge one, where there's a lot of like those junior hockey, or those recruitment pages for one, or those are recruitment accounts. What would be your um kind of rules or guidelines when it comes to, if you're going to post on Facebook, or you're going to reach out to one of these coaches that are on Facebook or whatever, to get a tryout or a camp invite, or to come out and play for their team? What would be your what would be your opinion or your assessment when it comes to reaching out to those guys? And by proxy, then what would be your um, opinion or your guideline, or however you want to put it, for when you have a program or an agent or a recruitment page reaching out to the athlete saying, "Hey, come play for us."
So you're talking more I guess so like as a player reaching out via social media.
Correct.
I would say I would say if it's a post, because I've seen there's a couple places where you can post, hey, I'm so and so, I'm looking for a place to play.
Right.
Uh, to be honest with you, I probably scroll past those more than I look at them. Um,
Okay.
because I think if you're doing that, you're just hoping that something lands. I still think the more personalized approach is good. There'll be teams that are desperate and looking for players that will always reach out. But I think you're kind of, if you're posting there and you're just hoping that someone reaches out to you, you go back to being in drama free situations. You're probably not putting yourself into a drama free situation if you have a team that is scrolling through social media looking for players that are posting to the masses. I would still say the best way to do it would be to send a private message if that's the way you have to communicate with somebody. And again, that goes back to the other thing, is asked to have a conversation. In regards to, I guess, agents or firms reaching out to you over social media, I don't know if I really entertain that as a parent or a family. Uh,
Okay.
Good agents or good advisors will take the time and the effort to reach out to you personally, because I think that you have to understand, like, that relationship has to be a good personal relationship too, because they're trying to sell you, and they should be able to take the time and effort to send you an email or give you a phone call and do it through an actual channel that's not Facebook or a social media platform. That would be my take on it, is be wary of the things that you find on there. Be wary of putting yourself out there on a social media platform, because I just don't know if you're going to get a super positive return on it.
2-1, Vasily Podkolzin making it for the Oilers now. So we'll give I mean, like, this episode's going to come out a week later, but we're giving live updates as we go. So
Yeah, the Oilers are either in the third round or out by then, but
yeah,
they're going to be
exactly.
living the glory days or setting them up for round three.
Exactly. I mean, I'm a big social media user. Obviously, doing the podcast is part of that. But I would agree with you that you got to be careful with what you see out there. I'm in those Facebook groups just to see what's going on. Try to stay relatively away from it as best as I can, but just to kind of see what's happening, I guess. Um, but yeah, like I've seen a few posts on there, or even then, like some of those like those hockey parent groups, excuse me, where you know even then, like, it's similar to a cold call where it's like they'll send like massive like teams or agencies or whoever will send out these invite programs. And then it ends up just being a cash cow either way.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say if it doesn't have your name attached to it and it's not a personalized, if someone didn't take the time to reach out to you, then
Yep.
it's not worth it.
If it looks like it's written by Chat GPT, don't answer.
Yeah. Yeah. Because then it got sent to 1,000 people.
Right. So I guess then, because kind of transitioning away from that, like we've all talked about it. It's on every podcast that you see out there. It's on Facebook. I mean, we talk about it as coaches internally as well. What are the do's and don'ts for goalie parents when dealing with coaching staff, scouts, and even before making the team, and also while being on the team?
Uh, Do's and don'ts. I would say for do's, when you're dealing with a coaching staff or a scout, um, I would say ask questions. I think set your expectation of what you're looking for. If you haven't made the team yet, just say, "Hey, this is what we're looking for. This is what the expectation is." But don't I wouldn't set demands. Like, I think that's where you start. Everybody's a human. People will have human emotions, and if as a parent you're trying to demand something of a coaching staff, it's going to bring their backs up against the wall right away. If you set up an expectation of, hey, this is what our son is good at. This is what helps him succeed. But we believe in what you do, et cetera, et cetera. Like, I think that's a better way of going about it. I understand that goalies and parents are always looking out for their best interests. I think there's sometimes this battle that everybody thinks that they're competing. They always want what's best for their kid, but I think you have to understand that that's mutual from the coaching staff usually as well. So
Mhm.
that collaborative approach is super important, I think. Um, but don't demand things. Like, that's the biggest thing is you can set your expectations, but pose it in a positive way where the coaching staff can rally around it too. And ask lots of questions. I think that's the best way to get a coaching staff's view on things, because I think as a parent or as a goalie, you're wanting to know what the coaching staff is going to be all about. So asking questions and leaving room for the staff to explain what their vision is, I think is an important piece as well.
So then what about the don'ts?
The don'ts. Yeah, that's a good question. Like, do's and don'ts of goalie parents or goalies. Uh,
Because obviously we see as an example is that like you don't want to be confrontational about it. Again, like you had talked about earlier, you're obviously looking out for the best interest of your kid, but if you become too involved, then that can create a negative light for the kid because you're the proxy of it,
yeah,
right? And obviously word in the hockey world travels fast.
yeah.
So like obviously that's a given one, but just kind of what would some other ones be?
So let's break it down into goalies. So don't be a goalie that cheers for your partner to not be successful. Like, I've had lots of goalie partners that were upset when I played a good game because that meant that they didn't get to play. Like, I think that's a big thing. And I've dealt with a couple situations this year where the goalies were at each other's throats all year because they were like cheering for the other goalie to not have success when they're in the net because they're making it about themselves. So I guess that would be the short end is don't make it about yourself. Like, you're a vital part of the team, but it is a team. From a goalie perspective, uh, don't be high maintenance. I think that's another one. There that I had a goalie that when I coached that his big thing is he psyched himself out too much if he knew when he was playing. So he needed to know right after warm up. Otherwise, he was not going to be able to play. Well, he lasted with our team for probably another couple days because if you mentally can't handle knowing that you're playing a hockey game, well then what are we doing here, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that would be one is don't be high maintenance. Let the things come to you, because coaches have so much. I think coaches are trying to do what's best for the team, and sometimes having a goalie that's always asking, "Am I starting next?" or "Who's playing now?" or "What's going on here?" I think that sometimes makes you needy, and I think that rubs coaches the wrong way. So those would be my two big don'ts for goalies: is don't be high maintenance because I just see that as you can have your expectations, but don't be always with at the coach. I think sometimes I was guilty of that, is I always wanted to play. So I'd always be asking the coach when I was playing next, when in
Yeah.
reality it didn't change anything. So I think just let that come to you sometimes, and don't be a teammate that's not cheering on your partner. From a parent perspective, is kind of the same thing. Don't be high maintenance. Like, don't be someone that needs justification for every decision that gets made. That needs you to have a conversation every time you make a decision, because I've dealt with that before too, where you go, okay, player A starting instead of player B, and then player B needs an explanation every time as to why player B wasn't getting to play that game. And at some point, you have to go, my kid has to play, and he's got to advocate for himself. Those would be my big ones. Is don't always be talking to the coach, because then I think there's a problem there if that's what's happening.
So the do there for that, and we talked about this on previous podcasts, would be just as a parent, be a fan, be a supporter. Don't be don't don't be don't be that second head on the kid's shoulders, right? Just
Yeah,
be there. Go ahead.
advocate for them, but don't fight their battles. Like I
Yeah.
think that's like they you can be their biggest advocate, but you have to let them kind of dictate their career,
Yeah.
because if you're the one that's leading the charge, eventually you become the problem, and unfortunately your kid pays for it.
We see there's a lot of that, and we've seen a lot of that. Okay, so then at what point then do you think it makes sense for goalies to get an advisor or an agent?
If you are 17 years old and you don't have any offers and you want to play junior hockey, that to me is the answer. You saw it today. So today is a prime example as to unfortunately why advisors maybe aren't so great at this age. If you are good enough, you're gonna be found. And the Western Hockey League draft today had kids who played prep, who played JPHL, who played U15 AAA, but also kids that played U15 AA got drafted today. And so I think you have to let the scouts do due process. If you're good, you're going to be found. So don't I wouldn't sink money into an advisor until you're kind of at that point where you're in your last year of minor hockey and you still can't find any traction. To me, that is when I would be looking. The other option is, and this is either an advisor or a trusted third party, if you're getting lots of interest, then maybe it's time to bring someone in so that we can go back to what we talked about at the beginning, which is finding the right fit for you. If you have lots of opportunities, then it's time to find the right fit. And if you don't feel comfortable doing that on your own, then maybe bringing someone in that can advocate for you and help you with that process would be a good idea as well.
Okay, so then if going that route, then I guess before any and all that, we should clarify. I mean, most people should know, but for those who don't, should clarify what it is that an agent does, what it is that an advisor does, and then going on to the third question here, which we can talk about afterwards, and I can reiterate, is that if you do decide to go down the route where you want to grab it, where you want to get an advisor or an agent, what should goalies do to ensure that they find a good fit for an advisor or an agent?
So the advisor component is somebody who's under the age of 18, like they're not profiting, and like an agent profits on the money that the client makes, whereas an advisor does not. Like an advisor is just there to help them make decisions, but ultimately will not make the decision for them. Like if so, when I was in Pilot Mound, we worked with a couple advisors who basically just were the intermediary between talking to me and talking to the family. Like they would reach out to me on behalf of the family, but I still would have to talk to the family afterwards. So they were just there to get the word out that that player was looking for a place to play, whereas an agent would actually do all the communicating on behalf of their client to get the deals done and things like that. So advisors are basically what you're seeing in junior hockey because no one's getting paid to play.
Right.
In regards to finding the right fit, I would almost say it's the exact same as a team. Talk to lots of advisors and ask them how they've worked with goalies before. Look at advising firms and see what they've done with their goalies. Have they put goalies at the next level? Do they advocate for their goalies? Do they have someone dedicated to working with goalies? Because again, if you don't have someone who knows the goaltending world, how are they supposed to know those questions about the right fit with a team if they've never done that before? So if you're just getting an advisor who works with players encompassing goalies, I don't know if they're going to have the same depth of knowledge as if it's at a firm that has a dedicated guy who just works with goalies. But I would shop around and ask questions and ask them what they're going to do for you and how they are going to advocate for you, because they need to have connections. You know, that's the whole point of being an advisor, is that you got lots of connections in the junior world, and you need to know that they have that. So you got to ask the right questions to get to that answer.
Okay. So then I guess then because I got a couple more here for you, kind of off the books here. I guess one would be just kind of what's like for you as a scout, and then dealing with all like the advisors and the agents and stuff. Because we did a podcast on networking a while ago. For you, how important is that? What's kind of your tips for proper networking and just kind of putting yourself out there
For goalies,
for goalies?
Yeah, for networking, I would say yes to all the, like, if you can get yourself out there to go to a camp, I would do it. Like, because the the world that you're in, everybody knows everybody. Like, it's coaches get recycled, and that's not just in junior or not just in the NHL. That's everywhere, right? So,
Yep.
by you might go to a camp in Canmore, or let's just say you come to an MLAC camp and we let you go, but I know that you're a really good player. Well, I'm going to try my best to find you a place to play because I believe in you. The same thing at junior. You might go to Canmore and they don't have a fit for you, but they like you. So they're going to try and find a spot for you in Bonnyville because Bonnyville needs a goalie. If you have the wherewithal to get out there and talk to people, or get out there and go to camps, I would do it. And stay after and talk to the coaches and get to know them, because advisors are awesome and they do really good work, but coaches also know coaches. And if you can come to a core hockey camp and you're taking shots from Blair Becker and afterwards you hang back for 20 minutes and talk to him, like, and he likes you, he's going to try and help you find a place to play. So if you have the opportunity to get on the ice and talk to some people, I would do it and just create conversations. That would be my big advice. You don't have to go out there and source it, but if you're in a spot to do it, I would do it.
Yeah, no, that's great. I guess just kind of finishing off here for today. Just what would be your one piece of advice for goalies out there?
Oh, I've had this one locked and loaded. Learn how to bounce back from tough situations. So the mental side of the game, because you're only as good as your first bad game. And you see that at all levels, and I see that all the time, and I'm hoping I see it in tryouts this year. I want to see our goalies not have success at some point and see how they bounce back from it, because the good ones will bounce back and the ones that aren't quite ready yet will crumble. So develop those mental skills, or those skills to help you calm back down and get refocused.
That's a huge one, and I think like it shows for coaches. Doesn't matter who, head coaches, assistant coaches, goalie coaches, general managers, whoever. I think it shows that like if you aren't afraid to fail, then just don't be afraid to fail. I guess is just kind of the point there. Just that's need to be made, because it shows that you're willing to learn, you're willing to grow, and you're human, right?
Yeah.
You're not. I mean, there's only select few players, and I use players as a generalized term, that are players like Connor McDavid, as an example, or Martin Brodeur when he was playing, or Jeremy Swayman, or whoever, right? Because like obviously throughout, at some point those guys made mistakes. Connor McDavid still makes mistakes on occasion with the Edmonton Oilers. Jeremy Swayman, same deal. All those guys are they all make mistakes, but that's because they're all human as much as they are superhuman sometimes. So don't be afraid to fail. And I think for somebody like Ethan in a position that he's in, obviously that's something that he is looking for. Now, obviously, don't go and lay an egg, but that's kind of the generalization there, is that if if you're showing that you're willing to grow, then obviously it's gonna go a long way for you.
You're 100% right. So we have three things this year that we're going to live by, and the one is fail hard. And when we say that, it means fail because you tried to do something, not because you were afraid to do something. So to me, is all those guys, McDavid, why he's so good is because he fails 99.9% of the time because he's trying to do something and then he learns from it. And that's how he's getting better, is he's trying something and it didn't work. So he makes an adjustment and then goes back out and does it again. And that can be same said at minor hockey, is make a mistake and then learn from it. Don't make a mistake because you were scared to try something.
Exactly. Well, Ethan, it's been a pleasure, my friend. Happy to have you on the pod for today. I guess just another kind of last minute question here as we wrap up. Where can people find you?
Usually on my couch watching TV. No. uh, Watching the latest Oilers game. That's a good question. I don't even know what my socials are, but I'm on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. What else is there out there these days? I don't even know. I'm sure I'm missing
TikTok
something that
and
these young kids have.
yeah, fair enough.
Yeah,
Obviously,
just my name.
yeah, there you go. Obviously, you are on staff with us here at True North Goaltending. So if you have any questions for Ethan, you can reach out to us at goalies at truenorthgoaltending.com. Ethan, it has been a pleasure, my friend. Thank you for coming on today.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, goalies. Well, that'll do for another episode of the DIY Goalie Podcast, brought to you by True North Goaltending. Make sure you guys follow us on our social media platforms at True North Goaltending. At some point here, we are migrating everything from the DIY Goalie brand over to True North Goaltending as part of our merger. So make sure you guys just go check us out at True North Goaltending, because all of that stuff will be posted there. You can follow myself over on Instagram at MondayGC. Again, you can follow us on your favorite social media platforms: Twitter, Facebook, X. Same thing, Twitter, X, TikTok there as well, except on Instagram, because we do like to be different. You can follow us there at YEG Goalie Coach. If you are watching on the YouTube side of things, make sure you hit that subscribe button and that like button, as we are looking to bring more goalies together, because the more goalies that we have in the community, the better. And that's just because goalies are cooler all around. If you have any questions or anything, you can reach out to us at goalies at truenorthgoaltending.com. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks so much for listening on your favorite Spotify platforms, podcasting platforms, Spotify, Apple, iHeart, wherever it is that you listen to us. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you guys next time. Make some saves. Take care.